Hey everybody, Rick here with the word for Wednesday. It's late Wednesday night. I've been traveling, taking care of some stuff with my mom and my mom's affairs at her home, which put me in Los Angeles for the first couple days of this week. Gotta tell you, interesting place. It's interesting to see what it's like to be in the middle of a place that like carries culture, like carries the opinions, people think it's the defining place of culture. Boy, I gotta tell you, it's culture shock for me. I'm just so used to the Montana way of life, and I just have been in rural communities now for most of my adult life, and I just can't even imagine living in a place where I mean, there's more people in Los Angeles County than in 4 of my neighboring states right now. Thinking of that, it was interesting because people look at these places as like the centers of culture, that, like I was saying before, the centers of defining thought, or setting the pace for what we're supposed to feel and think and what's hip and what's cool. But frankly, I got to be honest with you. So I was walking around the city. It was palpable. You could feel a sense of fear in people, of wariness, of distrust. It was just an interesting feeling. And I went to a coffee shop. It was just called Simple Coffee, and it attracted me, right? Because at this point of my life, I'm into the simple things. And I'll never forget the guy. The guy whose name was Carter. And I just kind of engaged him after a couple of days talking to him about what was going on in his life. And as we're waiting for coffee to come up, and it was a small shop, I got to hear his story a little bit. And he came up to Los Angeles because he's in the music industry. He's a sound engineer, and he's originally from San Diego. And he and his girlfriend decided to kind of move up here and make a go of it right in the middle of the pandemic. And I was thinking to myself, what a gutsy guy, And I asked him, I said, what made it risk? What made the risk worth it? He said, I just had nothing to lose. It seems like when we get to the end of ourselves, we tend to risk more. So there's this interesting passage as we're going through the book of Esther. I kind of want to lay out for you and kind of look at as we look at the situation of the captives in Judah in the Persian Empire. They're kind of at the end of themselves, right? Because again, it's one of those situations where they're being stripped of their identity. They're being stripped of what they knew to be true and knew what God would say. Was said to them. There was the battle to keep for what they knew they were. There was a battle to keep their identity. It was a battle to keep their history, and a battle to keep the vestiges of truth that they hung on to. In so many ways, that's kind of what we're going on in. In so many ways, that's the funny thing about Carter's story is he hung on to what he knew he was. He knew he was into being called or becoming something bigger than he was in San Diego. And he took the risk to become this dream, this vision of himself. So as I look at this, I read this passage in Esther chapter 2. It says, after these things, when the anger of the king Ahasuerus had subsided, he remembered the Vashti and what she had done, and what had been decreed against her. Then the king's attendants who served him said, let beautiful young virgins be sought for the king, and let the king appoint overseers in all the provinces, every beautiful young virgin to Susa, the capital, to the harem, and into the custody of Haggai, the king's eunuch, and into his charge with women, let the cosmetics be given. So a big beauty contest was now being brought out for the replacement of Vashti, Vashti being the queen that would not submit to the king's rule and in embarrassment, be shamed while he was drunk and entertaining his friends. And it was in that moment of dignity she stood up. And now, as she is moved on and she is no longer in the king's court, an opportunity creates itself. And it's interesting to think about that from tragedy can come opportunity, that from despair can come hope. See, oftentimes we, in today's society, we're striving for a normal, but that we long for that thing of the past, the normal that we used to be a part of. But truly, I don't know if that normal was really that good. I don't know if that comfortable was really comfortable, but more like familiar. It was what we were used to. And the thing about what you're used to is it makes you feel comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. Think about the things you get used to. You know, if you're going for a long walk and the inconvenience of taking your shoe off to get that pebble, that tiny little pebble, depending on its size, is really what dictates whether or not we go to fix it or we live with the discomfort. In many ways, our lives are like that we choose to live with these levels of discomfort and just assume it's a new comfort. And as I look into the eyes of the folks I was kind of dealing with in this trip, I think people have become used to something that's so bad that any move to good is good. And though that's true, any move to good is good. Is it the good that God has really created him to be? That's what makes this kid Carter's story stick out so much, is he didn't just kind of make a little move, he made a bold move. A bold move into what good is. And I often wonder, how bold are we in this return to a life that we called normal? I'm striving for a new normal. I'm striving for a normal that was better than before. More rich in God's presence, more rich in God's power, more rich in prayer, more rich in God's word, more rich in relationship, more rich in love and in grace and in mercy. See, that's the thing. Are we looking for more of the same, or are we looking for more of more? Because I want more. I want more of what God has. And in this opportunity that we've got, reinventing what God can do, rewriting what could be possible, that's an opportunity. That's an opportunity. So I'm going to ask that instead of looking at what's normal and what's been and adjusting to that, let's not settle for comfort. Let's settle for fullness. Let's settle for the full thing that God has called you to, be it fullness in relationship, fullness in your marriage, fullness with your family, fullness in your ministry, fullness at work where you're reaching and changing people, speaking into their lives. That fullness is what we're looking for. And I'm inviting you into that. As we're going through Esther, why don't you think through some of those things, and hopefully they'll reach you. Well, I've been driving all day, and it's a late night, and I want to get this out before Thursday morning, and I hope you're blessed by this message. Something about spending a lot of time behind a windshield really makes you think, and hopefully it makes you think. Be blessed. Have a great night.